Great. Well, thanks everyone again for being here tonight. We'll go ahead and get started. So the agenda for the training this evening, we've already gone over some introductions. Once again, I'm Olivia Rita. I'm the Volunteer Engagement Manager at Alliance for the Great Lakes. We'll go through an Adopted Beach overview, just a little bit of history from the program. And then we'll get into the team leader role and the step-by-step process of becoming a team leader all the way through leading your cleanup and submitting data. And then there'll be plenty of time for questions, and I'll share some resources as well. And once again, I'll share an email out with everyone who registered for the training with the slides from this presentation today, the recording, as well as the resources that we'll discuss. Okay, so a little bit about Adopted Beach, where it started, where it is today. So the Adopted Beach program started with the Alliance for the Great Lakes in 1991, and it started as part of the International Coastal Cleanup in September. So the International Coastal Cleanup is with Ocean Conservancy, and that is an effort where there are shoreline cleanups all over the world, kind of towards the end of September. So we're part of that effort in September with our September Adopted Beach. And so our Adopted Beach program started in, like I said, in 1991. In 2003, the program expanded with year-round cleanups begin along with our online database. So as some of you may know, part of the Adopted Beach program is that we collect data about what we're finding on the beach, litter data. So the online database that we have where we collect that data started in 2003. And then in 2007, we use Adopted Beach data. Volunteers pushed for and won a beach smoking ban in Michigan and Chicago. So just an example of how some of our litter data can be used to affect, different policies in local areas. And then in 2012, initial research using Adopted Beach data begins on Great Lakes plastic pollution. So once again, kind of putting that data to use. In 2021, was the 30th anniversary of the Adopted Beach program. So we're just over 30 years old for the whole program. And then in 2022, volunteers were able to reach the milestone of collecting 500,000 pounds of litter from Great Lakes shoreline. So that goes all the way back, to 2003 when we started collecting litter data. And since then, we've been able to remove over now 500,000 pounds of litter. So that was a great milestone that volunteers such as yourselves were able to help us accomplish. So how the Adopted Beach program works, it's kind of a train the trainer module. So the Alliance for the Great Lakes offers a lot of different resources, training such as this, along with a lot of additional resources to support team leaders who we help train to lead Adopted Beach cleanups all over the Great Lakes region. And team leaders coordinate cleanups and collect data in their community. So we'll go through the whole process here in a second. This is all done and managed through our Adopted Beach website. So our current website was launched in the spring of 2020. So if you did cleanups with us before then and haven't since, we do have a new website. So we'll go over some of the functions of that new website here in a second. And the program now has cleanups on all 5 Great Lakes and in all 8 Great Lakes states. So participants, thousands of volunteers and team leaders participating across the Great Lakes region. Okay, so a little bit just sort of, personal stories from the Adopted Beach program, some personal experiences. Here's some photos of what Adopted Beach cleanups look like across the region. In the upper right-hand corner there, you can see a group that went out to clean a beach. And, the park let them know that they had done some cleaning that morning, but they still found a lot of tiny plastic debris. So that's a really common pattern that our team leaders and volunteers see through our program. Sometimes volunteers expect there to be a lot of super large litter, a lot of big, items, water bottles, plastic containers, which does happen. But a lot of times you're finding small items as well. And those small items are equally important, I would argue, to remove. Those are often, the small things are often what wildlife, might ingest later, and they can break up into smaller and smaller plastic pieces, microplastics that can end up in drinking water as well. So that's, a good kind of personal story that highlights that. On the left there, you can see, a group that was participating in the program as well. And they had some folks that took interest in what they were doing while they were on the beach and joined the cleanup as walk-up attendees, which you can welcome. We have paper waivers that I'll show you where to find in a second. And if you have walk-up attendees, they can sign that waiver and participate as long as there's, room within the cleanup. But it's always even if they don't participate in the cleanup, it's always a good conversation starter. And a lot of beachgoers will take interest and appreciation for what you're doing on the beach. As you can see on the bottom right there, a lot of these cleanups are, family friendly. It's a family friendly activity. I will say that to sign up for the cleanup, you do have to be 18 or older, but an adult, someone 18 or older can sign up for the cleanup and bring your child with you. You just have to indicate that when you register yourself. A few more highlights. So like I said, in 2021, we celebrated the 30th anniversary of the program. In 2022, we reached that milestone last year, collecting 500,000 pounds of litter from Great Lakes shorelines. And this year we're celebrating 20 years of the Adopt a Beach, data collection that started in 2003 with our online database for data collection. So this year we're really kind of reflecting on what that database is able to do. And all of our volunteers, celebrating all of our volunteers that have been able to make that happen and make that data set useful. So we have a big Great Lakes historic data set. And folks can reach out like yourselves if you ever want to look at that data or look at a specific slice of that data. We're happy to share it. Okay, so the team leader role, really important, exciting role to have within the program. Some of the steps that are involved with becoming a team leader and carrying out a cleanup. So we'll go over these in detail here in a second, but the general process is that you'll go ahead and create a team leader account, which I'll show you where you can do that if you haven't already. We'll go through how to schedule a cleanup, how we have different resources for you to be able to recruit volunteers and have them sign up online. We'll go through different supplies you'll want to make sure you have for your cleanup, the process day of, so meeting your volunteers on the beach, giving an introduction, how you'll want to organize to spread out and collect your litter and also collect the data for the cleanup, and then the post cleanup process. So entering your data, both your litter and attendance data into the system. So I'll pause there just for a second. Any general questions about anything we've talked about so far? There'll also be more time at the end too for questions about the whole process. Feel free to take yourself off mute or put things in the chat. Okay, great.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead, Patrick.
So if I don't need to do the volunteer sign up, where if I can just do it within, I'm with Myers, so I can just have internally team sign up. Can I do that outside of this? As long as I go ahead and collect the sign up sheets for what your requirements are for the cleanup?
So Patrick, if I'm understanding you correctly, are you saying that your sign up process is happening separately through
Yeah.
Meyer, but it's still an Adopt a Beach cleanup?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good question. We can go ahead and I'll drop my email in the chat, and we can probably connect offline just to see what would be best. Even if the waiver, covers it completely, or if not, we might have you also have the participant sign, our waiver in addition. But we can connect to see like what would make the most sense for that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good question. I'll make sure to provide my email for everyone at the end. Yeah. Thanks, Patrick. Okay, Sydney, good question. If my group, okay, it looks like Sydney, you have a similar question. If your group is corporate and registrations are done internally, similar.
Yeah, it's the same question, basically.
Pardon?
Yeah, it's the same question, essentially, as the prior one.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll connect with you as well. Sometimes just since it is our waiver, a lot of times we will have to have participants, sign both depending on what your waiver covers, but happy to connect about that. Offline, I'll share my email and phone number. Thanks for the question. Okay, great. So we'll go ahead and get started with the steps. If you think of any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat, or there'll be other times I'll pause as well. So the first step, scheduling a cleanup in the system. So I'm going to go ahead and pause sharing my screen there for a second so I can show you a different screen. Okay. So as you can see here, this is our Adopt a Beach website. So if you go to adopt.greatlakes.org, this is what you'll see. This is the Adopt a Beach website where you'll do all these different functions through. So if you haven't yet created a team leader account with us, that's what you'll want to do first. So when you go to this website, you'll see that button in the upper right-hand corner there where it says leader login. You'll select that. And that is where you'll be able to enter and log into your account once you create it. To create it, you'll go ahead and go down to where it says become a leader, and there will be a screen there where you can create your account. So it does ask for a mailing address. So you'll just want to put, address there that works for you to receive any materials that you request from us for your cleanup. That's why it asks you your t-shirt size as well, because you can request a team leader t-shirt. You'll create your password and you'll sign up for a team leader account. Okay, I'm sorry. Can you, Sydney, let me know that you guys can't see. Can you see the screen now that I'm sharing?
I still can't see it, but I think it's all right. I've done this part, so if everybody else can see it, then I'll just keep listening.
I'm sorry, Sydney. Yeah, it seems like everyone can everyone else can see it. But
yeah, it sounds good. That's fine.
Okay, sorry about that. Sydney, I'll be sharing this afterwards too, along with the slides. So if you have any questions, yeah, thanks for letting me know though. I really appreciate it. Okay, so you'll go ahead and create your account. So once that's done, I'm going to stop sharing so I can show you what it looks like once you're logged in. Okay, let's see here. Oops. 1 second. I'm just going to switch what view it's showing. Okay. I'll share that again. Okay. So once you create your team leader account, you'll go ahead and then be logged into the Adopt a Beach website. So it'll look the same, but there's just some different, capability. Since you're logged in, you'll be able to create your cleanups, see what cleanups you have scheduled, all that good stuff. So let's see, going back to this screen. So scheduling the cleanup in the system. So to do that, you're going to want to go ahead and select to host a cleanup. And when you're logged in, you'll see this yellow button here that says lead a cleanup. So this is the portal where you're going to put all your cleanup details, and that will allow you to register your cleanup in our system. So first things first is you're going to want to put what beach you want your cleanup to be at. So you'll just want to start typing the beach name in here. So a beach in Chicago here, Montrose Beach. I'm going to use that as an example. If for any reason your beach is not showing up in the system, and it is a public beach that you're able to, be at and host a cleanup, definitely reach out to us. We can add beaches as needed as long as you're allowed to host a cleanup there. So you can email the Adopt a Beach email, adoptabeach@greatlakes.org, to go ahead and have us add the beach. Then you'll go ahead and want to put the date. So just for an example, I'm going to put something kind of late in the season, just since I know it won't be taken. So we'll do one. Let's see here. Okay, October 27th. So a lot of times our cleanups are around 2 hours. So I'm going to put this one from 9 to 11 a.m. But that's up to you. There's no, defined amount of time you need to host the cleanup, but that's kind of typical. Then you'll want to put cleanup capacity. So that's how many individuals you think you can host at your cleanup. So kind of, maybe has to do with the beach size. Some beaches can accommodate larger groups, others they kind of need to be smaller. Also depends on, how many people you have helping and maybe how many supplies you're able to have there. But I would say a good rule of thumb, a lot of our, beaches and it kind of we have some agreements and different relationships with some of the park districts. And usually, there's cleanups allowed to about 50 people. Sometimes, depending on the location over that, you may need extra permits. If you are going to have more going on than a cleanup, if you're going to have, tents and food and all that stuff, or there's more happening than the cleanup, oftentimes you'll need a separate permit. So just something to consider. Those are, you'll have to contact the landowner for those types of items. So for this one, we'll go ahead and put 50. Estimated attendance. So this field is used for us to send you the appropriate amount of materials. So cleanup capacity is, how many folks you think you can accommodate at your cleanup. Estimated attendance is how many folks you think, an estimation of how many folks you think will actually attend. So we'll put 30 for this one. Meetup location, you'll want to put something fairly specific just to, allow folks to know where they should meet you on the beach. Some beaches are pretty large and have a lot of like parking areas, park, green space, the beach itself. So it's good to kind of give something to specific to help folks know where to go. So I'm just going to put meet by the steps outside the beach house. Okay. And then for information, event information, really you can put anything here. This is not a required field, but sometimes it's helpful if you want to put anything that participants should be aware of. So I'm going to say, cleanup supplies will be provided. Please bring a water bottle and dress for the weather. So just any like cleanup reminders you want your group to be aware of. You can make your cleanup private or public. So we recommend when possible to make your cleanups public just so that community members can join and people can find cleanups on our website and join cleanups near them. But there are absolutely situations where it makes more sense and sometimes it's necessary for the cleanup to be private. Usually if it's a youth cleanup, if it's, a K through 12 cleanup, a troop cleanup, one that's focused on youth engagement, those are, almost always private. A lot of times corporate groups, will need to make a private cleanup, things like that. Oh, no problem, Christina. Thanks for letting us know. I will be emailing a recording. Yes. Thank you for asking. Yes. So often, there are times when the cleanup needs to be private. If that's the case, you'll indicate that here. And that just means, when the cleanup is public on our site, only people with a private registration link will be able to join. So that's where you can put that. For group type, you'll just put whatever, matches your group. If it's a business, youth group, higher education, nonprofit, community group. So we'll just put other here. Host group name, if that's relevant for you. If you're with a business or with, a community group, you can put the name there. If you're a corporate group interested in sponsorship opportunities, you can indicate that there and we can reach out to you with more information. And then at the bottom here, you'll want to tell us what of these supplies you would like us to send you. So we offer to send some different supplies for your cleanup. It's not everything you'll need, but it's just to kind of help supplement what you'll need for your cleanup. So we offer to send litter monitoring forms, which are the data sheets where you collect data for your cleanup. We offer to send a team leader t-shirt for your cleanup that kind of helps identify you on the beach and have people know where to find you. A $5 Ace Hardware gift card that can go towards, purchasing a bag of gloves or a box of bags, things like that. A hanging scale for weighing trash. So part of the data collection is getting a final weight on your cleanup to tell us how many pounds of litter you removed. And then we also have Alliance for the Great Lakes stickers that we can send you. So you can choose which items you would like us to send, all of them, none of them, a selection of them, whatever is most relevant for you. Yes, good question, Rebecca. Is there a place to download and print the litter monitoring forms? Yes, there is. Yep, I'll show you that here in a second. That's a great question. We do have our forms all available on the resources page, and I'll show you that in a second. So you can print whenever you need for those. And then the last thing you'll do before creating your cleanup is you'll want to review the safety page that we have listed on our website. So that just goes over some general safety things to be aware of. Oops. Sorry, 1 second. Okay. So once you do that, you'll confirm that you have, you confirm the safety statement that you agree to it, and then you'll be able to go ahead and create your cleanup. And you'll just click confirm. Okay, so once you create your cleanup, you'll be taken to the cleanup details page, which is what I'm calling this here. And this page is where you will navigate to a lot of different functions once your cleanup is created. To get to this page from your team leader account, you can always go to My Cleanups here. And then the cleanup will be listed. So as you can see, this cleanup is listed here, and you'll click on it, the blue hyperlink, and you can always come back to this page. Okay. You can also edit these details at any point. Some of them you can't edit once it gets really close to the cleanup. If you need to do that, reach out to me and I can help you. But for the most part, you can edit these details with this yellow button here. Okay, so I'll pause there. Any questions about scheduling a cleanup in the system? I will note that for dates, we do block cleanups from being created on the same day or before or after. We usually try to leave a buffer. So it could give you an error if you create a cleanup, if it's already taken. If you're having trouble finding a date, let me know and I can help with that too. Okay. Well, if you think of anything, like I said, feel free to put it in the chat. And then we'll have time at the end too. Okay, so the next step is you'll want to recruit volunteers and have them sign up online. So going back to that cleanup details page right here, you can at any time send your registration link directly to participants. So if you scroll down, you'll see a spot that says publicize your cleanup. And this link here, let's see, I don't know if it'll let me do it since I'm logged in. I think I might have to show you on a different screen, but okay, yeah, let me show you on the one that's not logged in. 1 second. Okay, so here we are. I'm gonna show you what that registration link looks like if you're not logged in. Oh, is it logging me in? I think it is. Let's see, 1 second. Okay, let me try searching it this way. 1 moment. So your participants can also find the cleanup by going to find a cleanup on the Adopt a Beach page, and they can search for it by beach, by date. So that's how folks can find your public cleanup, even if it's not, even if you haven't sent them a specific link. If it's public, they can find and sign up for it that way too. So we'll go ahead and press the register button here. Okay, so this is what you would see if you're not logged in, if you're a participant or someone, a community member that you sent this link to. This is how they'll register for that cleanup, just so you know what that looks like. Okay, so let's go back to the other screen. Okay, there we go. Okay, so for recruiting volunteers, so I'm going to keep referring back to the team leader resources page. So you'll want to remember that page. I'll link that in the email, follow-up email. But you can get to that by going to greatlakes.org/resources. And once you're there, you'll see that there are resources. If you keep scrolling down, here's the forms that I was referring to. So you can print the litter monitoring form and our paper waiver for any walk-up attendees. You can print those there. But there's lots of resources to help publicize your cleanup. So to help get the word out about your cleanup, we have a customizable flyer that's available through a PowerPoint slide, customizable press release, and also social media images and customizable text that you can use to help promote your cleanup. And like I said, once folks have that link, they can then register for your cleanup. You do want to encourage as many folks as possible to register ahead of time, just because if they register through our website, that includes signing off on our waiver, and then they don't have to sign a paper waiver when they come in person. If they don't register ahead of time, you'll just want to make sure you print these sign-in sheets, a few of those for any walk-up attendees. Okay. So any questions about recruiting volunteers and then having them sign up online? Okay, great. So the next step is you'll want to gather supplies, make sure you have what you need for your cleanup. So once again, we're going to that team leader resources page. And to see what you need for your cleanup, we're going to go to, I would say, one of our most useful resources, our how-to guide. So, you're on the resources page. If you scroll down, it's one of the first resources linked under training. So the how-to guide walks you through the cleanup process from beginning to end. So if you go to that guide and you go to page 4, you'll see what you need to bring to your cleanup. Now, some of these items we offer to send you. So if you select that you'd like us to send you those items, those will come to the mail to you. Usually they should be by, arrive to you, I would say, by like 5 to 7 days before your cleanup, sometimes a little, closer. If it's getting close to your cleanup, like 5 days before or so, and you haven't received materials that you requested, definitely reach out to us and let us know that. But the items that we say, you must have at your cleanup, gloves, at least one per volunteer. You can also recommend that your participants, bring their own reusable gloves if they have them, but you'll always want to have some disposable gloves or, clean reusable gloves for them to use if they don't have their own. Pencils to fill out the litter monitoring forms. The litter monitoring forms themselves, like we referenced, you can print them or request them. You'll want to print them. It's usually good to print them back and front. And if you can print them on a sturdier paper, that's helpful. Or if you have clipboards or, things for people to write on, that's helpful too. And then your volunteer roster. So let's go back to that cleanup details page. Okay. So right before your cleanup, and I wouldn't recommend doing this too far ahead of time because some people register pretty close to the cleanup. But I usually do this like the day before or even the morning of sometimes. Once you're on your cleanup details page, you'll go ahead and look at this little drop down menu and you can see where you can print your roster. So you'll go there, your roster will likely have many more names, but once you go to that screen, you'll be able to print this and then you can have that on the beach. So when folks arrive, you can check them in. This way, if they registered ahead of time, they already signed the waiver, or if they need to sign your paper waiver on site. Okay, so that's the roster. And then volunteer sign-in sheets, like I said, for walk-up volunteers who were not able to register online. If you go back to the resources page, you can print that right here. I'll show you what that looks like too, so you know. Here's the paper waiver. So 5 people can sign up on one sheet. The waiver language is on the bottom, and they're just signing off on our waiver. They can also, on a separate line, a parent or guardian can sign for their minor as well. Okay, and then bags or buckets to hold, garbage and recyclables. Like I said, you can ask volunteers to bring buckets if they have them, but you'll want to have some bags or buckets for your group. And then a scale to weigh the trash. Once again, that's something that we offer to send. That's part of our data that we collect. And then a basic first aid kit, just in case for your group. And then on the other side, there's some optional, but helpful items. I'll go ahead and let you all look through that at your leisure, but there's just some other helpful things. Some of these ones at the bottom here are helpful if you have larger groups, like different signage or ways to specify areas for them to clean. But on the left are the must-have items. And then once again, you can request, like I said, some of those items from the Alliance. Okay, any questions about that part, about gathering supplies? Okay, great. We'll go ahead and move on to the next part, which is day of on the beach. You're meeting your volunteers, kind of how to start your cleanup. So we do have some resources on how to kind of greet your group and some information you can share with them. Like I said at the beginning, once your group is arriving on the beach, I would use that, those first 5-10 minutes or so to greet folks as they come. You'll want to check them off on the roster, or if they're not on the roster, have them sign that paper waiver that you can see here. And then once your group is all gathered, you feel like you're at, critical mass and have most folks there. You can go ahead and, give kind of an introduction, orient people to the cleanup. So if we go to our resources page again, you'll see that we have a resource here that says how to welcome your group. Those are some talking points that, we as staff have used at Adopt a Beach cleanups, and they're helpful things that you as a team leader can share as well. So these talking points, tell the group a bit more about the Alliance for the Great Lakes. A lot of them may not, know of us before, have known of us before, and so it just tells them a little bit about us. Some Adopt a Beach facts, some of the items we went over today, and just some general things to know about the program. And then a little bit about the Great Lakes, the importance of protecting the Great Lakes. Over 40 million people rely on the Great Lakes for drinking water. So it's really nice to kind of put context to the cleanup. We share the Great Lakes with 3,500 species of plants and animals. So just kind of some fun stats to make people aware of. Those are some of the exciting stats. There's also some stats that kind of put things into perspective. About 22 million pounds of plastic enter the Great Lakes each year. So a lot of what we find in our Adopt a Beach program is made of plastic, either partially or fully, usually about 85%. So plastic pollution is a big thing that we talk about at our cleanup. So there's some facts listed here that you can share with your group. And then a little bit about the importance of our data and why we collect it. So, you're asking them to help collect this data. It's kind of nice to give them a little context about why that's helpful, why it's important. So that's there for you. Like I said, all of this is available on our website on the resources page. Okay, so once you welcome your group, share with them some talking points. You also are going to want to make sure you share any safety information. So we have a lot of safety things highlighted in the how-to guide that I referenced a bit ago. We also have our safety page here. So talking just about like weather safety and things like that. That's a little bit more so before your cleanup for you as a team leader to think about. But some other safety information, to share with your group are things like, don't touch any sharp objects or questionable objects, not to, remove any dead animals or things like that. We say that just because it has come up in the past, but just some general safety information like that, having folks avoid being in the water, especially if it's a youth group, having kids make sure they stay out of the water. And then just any like site specific information. So sometimes our cleanups are at beaches where there might be blocked off areas, that may have been areas of fragile plantings or nesting sites or things like that. So there's other site specific information you can share as well. Okay. And then once you give your introduction, you're going to want to kind of give folks a general sense of how the cleanup will operate. So you give the introduction, kind of talk through some context, the importance of the cleanup and protecting the Great Lakes. And then in terms of how the cleanup works, you're going to want to, at that point, have the whole group separate into smaller groups. We usually recommend about 2 to 4 people for the size of those small groups. And then one person in each of those small groups is going to be the data recorder. And they're going to have that litter monitoring form. You'll pass out supplies to these small groups. One person in each group will tally what the other members are finding and telling them that they're picking up. And then usually I, give each group a bag, and then each person should have at least one glove that they can use, to remove litter if they want to. That's fine too. And then everyone will disperse, across the beach. Sometimes it's helpful to start at the furthest location of the beach and work your way back to the central location, just so you're not going back and forth with heavier bags. And then you'll want to leave about, I would say, 15 to 20 minutes before you want the cleanup to end to go ahead and reconvene, collect those litter forms, and also weigh your trash. So you'll want to weigh everyone's trash bags and then make a note of the total weight of litter that was removed. And then once you have collected all the data sheets and, have your waivers, have the total litter weight documented, then you'll just want to, kind of wrap things up with your group, thank them, of course. You can pass out stickers if you'd like at that point. And then once you've kind of wrapped up and concluded with your group, sometimes I like to ask them like, their thoughts, reflections from the cleanup, what was most interesting they found, things like that. You'll go ahead and then want to dispose of the litter recycling on site. So most all of the beaches that you would be hosting a cleanup at should have receptacles on site for both trash and recycling. If for any reason you notice that a trash, receptacle is full or anything like that, go ahead and just put the items neatly next to the receptacle, and you can email adopt-a-beach@greatlakes.org and let us know. And we can make sure that we let the park district know too, that they might need to, pick up some extra litter at an item, or they might need another trash receptacle at a certain beach. So you can go ahead and let us know that. So that's, kind of day of, I would say, helpful tips. Any questions there before we move on to the data collection process? Let's see. Good question, Nicole. So the question is, as the public, do we have access to park districts or municipal cleanup schedules, so we don't schedule one right after it's been professionally cleaned? Good question. So the Alliance for the Great Lakes has different relationships with a lot of the major park districts in the Great Lakes area, not every single area, but some of the major ones. And we're in close touch with them in terms of our cleanups that are scheduled. A lot of the park districts do a fairly good job of removing a lot of the large items. They'll come through with some beach combers and things like that. I think that's what you're referring to as some of the kind of professional still find items, but sometimes they're the smaller items. So I would just really encourage, your group, if you're not finding a lot of large things, that the smaller items are really helpful to remove as well. A lot of times they get stuck in like the water line, or if there's any sort of like barriers higher up in the beach, like steps or stairs or concrete, a lot of little items can kind of pile up near those areas. So I would, really keep that in mind. We, a lot of that's happening regularly throughout the summer. So it's hard to say, when it was recently cleaned by the park district, but they are aware of like when our cleanups are happening, and let us know if there's conflicts, at least the major park districts that we work with. And then another way you can kind of space out your cleanup with some of the Adopt a Beach cleanups is if you go to the Adopt a Beach website and you go to the Find a Cleanup page, you can kind of get a sense of like what's already scheduled. But great question. Hopefully that answered it. If not, let me know and I can clarify as well. No problem. Thanks for your question. Okay, great. So moving into the data collection process, I'm going to go ahead at this point, show you the litter monitoring form. So you know what that looks like. I know we've talked about it a bunch, but here's the form itself. Here's the front. There's a front and back side. If we send you them, they're always printed front and back. On the front, we tried to put most of the like really common items so you don't have to flip as much. So the data recorder is just tallying items throughout the cleanup that their group is finding, just real simple tally marks. And at the end, I would go ahead and recommend that each data recorder tallies their totals, so you don't have to do that later yourself. And also sometimes it's hard to like decipher someone else's marks. So I would go ahead and encourage them to tally before they leave or to write the totals down. So this is what that looks like. There's different categories. It's usually helpful for the data recorder to give it a once over just to see what categories exist. And then any categories that aren't captured by the ones we have on the sheet, they can put under the miscellaneous items. So that's another option as well. Okay, so data collection, like I said, small groups, they're collecting the litter data during the cleanup, and then you're collecting the sheets at the end. Okay. Any questions about the data sheet? We'll go over how to enter the data in a second here. Okay. Okay, so how to enter your data. So your cleanup is done. You've had a great time at the beach with your participants. Now you'll go ahead and enter the data from your cleanup. We would love it if that happens, within a couple of weeks after your cleanup. We know life can get busy, so we're, that's flexible, but it's usually easier just to enter it sooner than later, just to kind of, while it's fresh, fresh in your memory. Definitely feel free to reach out if you have any trouble entering data or have any questions about it, but I'll go ahead and show you here the basics of entering your data. So once again, you're going to go to your cleanup details page. So you're logged into your team leader account. Once again, you go to my cleanups, go to the cleanup here, which takes you to the cleanup details page. So anything that you're doing with your cleanup in through the site, you use these yellow buttons here. So this is how we printed the roster, just as a reminder. This is where you can also cancel the cleanup, which I'll show you in a second. You can also clone your cleanup, which means keeping a lot of the details the same and putting it on a different date. So some of our team leaders that host a lot of cleanups in a season use that function. Okay, so to enter data, I'll first show you how to enter attendance data. So we'll go ahead and click attendance. And this is where you'll report to us who attended your cleanup. So first, it'll have a replica of your roster. So anyone who registered for the cleanup ahead of time, you'll go ahead and check off everyone that you marked as attended and check those off with the boxes. Then you'll save and continue. And then anyone that was a walk-up attendee that registered for the cleanup and signed the waiver using our paper waiver, that you'll go ahead and add them as a walk-up attendee during the second step of the process. So you'll enter their name, their email zip code, if they, confirming whether or not they were 18 or over, and then you'll go ahead and add attendee to list. You can add as many walk-up attendees as you need to, and then you'll go ahead and put save and continue. Just for timing's sake, I'm not going to do that right now, but it's pretty self-explanatory. And then if you don't have any walk-up attendees, you can skip that step as well. Here is where you'll go ahead and just confirm a couple data points. So if the actual attendance is different than what is indicated by the prior two steps, that will be indicated here, but you can override it by putting, the number attended in that box. And then here it'll show you the planned length of your cleanup that you indicated when you registered the cleanup. But say it started raining and you couldn't, have the cleanup last as long as you thought, you can go ahead and indicate here to us how long it actually lasted. No big deal if it was different than a planned. It's just helpful for our data records to know. And then if you'd like, at this last box here, you can leave a message for your volunteers. So once you enter attendance and litter data, both of them have to be entered. All of your registered participants will get an email thanking them and letting them know, what they were able to accomplish with your group. So it'll give them a high-level summary. It'll tell them how many pounds of litter were removed, and some of the top items that were removed from your cleanup. And then it will also include any thank you message that you include in this box here. So once you're done with that, you can go ahead and press submit. And then your attendance data is all complete. For litter data, you'll go ahead and select the button right next to attendance. So go to litter data. And then here is where you'll put all of your, combined data. So you'll go ahead and tally all the totals from everyone's data cards for each of these categories. Sometimes I'll use a blank data card just to write all the totals. And then you'll also put the total weight of litter removed from your cleanup. So maybe you removed, 30 pounds, and then you'll go through here and, add numbers for each category. If you did not find any items in one category, you can leave that blank. You can also put some of your top 3 miscellaneous items. You don't have to put all of them, but just the top 3. And then once you're done with that, you'll just press submit. And then at that point, all of your data has been entered. So your cleanup is complete. It's closed out in the system. You also won't receive any more data reminder emails from me, which is great, because I eventually try to, follow up and collect any data needed. So once you enter both attendance and litter data, then you're all set. If you have any questions, while you're entering that data, you can always feel free to reach out to me. But that's kind of how you go about entering that. Okay. Any questions about data entry? Okay. So just a couple quick resources before I open it up for questions. So once again, that how-to guide, I would say, if you're going to start anywhere with our resources, I would start there. That's kind of the step-by-step manual. We also have training videos. So if you go to our resources page, you'll see a bunch of videos here under training. And these videos go through pretty much what we went through today, like each step of the process and how to use the website. So those are really helpful. If you're like, how did she enter attendance data or litter data? There's step-by-step videos here. And once again, I'll send this recording out as well. So those are available for you. Once again, the forms are on the resources page, all the recruitment materials as well. So those are some of our, big resources. Before I enter any of the frequently asked questions, I'll go ahead and pause there for any questions you all may have. So feel free to take yourself off mute or enter questions in the chat. Happy to answer any questions you have about becoming a team leader or the cleanup process. Any questions? If not, I can go through some of these ones as well. Okay. Great. Well, if you think of anything, like I said, take yourself off mute or put it in the chat. I'll just real quick here go through some of our frequently asked questions just in case they're ones you have or they come up for you later. So some of our top questions we get asked is, do I have to officially adopt a beach? Can I lead a single cleanup? So the name can be ever so slightly confusing because the way our system works is that you are just signing up for a single cleanup. So you're not like committing to this beach, committing to cleaning this beach for weeks and weeks or, for a year every week or anything like that. You're signing up for one cleanup to lead one cleanup. You can sign up for as many as you would like, but that's just sort of how our system works. It's a single cleanup at once, cleanup by cleanup basis. The next question, is there a minimum number of people I must recruit? No. So our, cleanups happen with all sizes of groups. So some people will just go out on their own, just one person and sign up and, collect data, that's totally fine. We totally, appreciate any size group going out there. There are sometimes maximum numbers, like I mentioned earlier, depending on the landowner, park district, depending on the beach size, things like that. So, but there's no minimum number. Okay, we went over this third one already. If the beach is not listed, like I said, you can reach out to us as long as it's a public location and allowable for a cleanup to occur at, then we're happy to add it. What should I do if the weather is bad on my cleanup day? So for the most part, that's at the discretion of the team leader. So if it's drizzling out, as long as it's safe and you still want to host your cleanup, that's great and fine. If you, don't want to host your cleanup and want to cancel it, you can do that as well. I'll go ahead and show you how to cancel your cleanup here too. Okay, so here's the cleanup details page again. If you ever need to cancel for weather or other reasons, if it is weather and you want to reschedule the date, I would go ahead and edit the cleanup so your registrants get a notification and you don't have to like redo the whole thing. But if you need to cancel and you're not sure when to reschedule, or you just have to cancel for other reasons, go ahead and just press cancel cleanup. And then you'll get this page here, just confirming you actually want to cancel. And then next, and it will cancel your cleanup. And finish. Okay. So that's that. So like I said, it's at the discretion of the team leader of each person. If there's any unsafe conditions, lightning or anything else that's unsafe weather, if it's really cold and it's like really pouring and it's, too cold to be hosting a cleanup, anything unsafe, of course, cancel. But in terms of like some light drizzling, things like that, that's up to you. Like I said, you can edit the date or cancel. If it's right before the cleanup and you need help canceling because it won't let you cancel, if it's, too close to the cleanup, let me know and I can help you do that. How do I communicate with my team or volunteers? So for privacy reasons, when folks register for, a cleanup in our system, their emails are not available to the team leader just because they didn't, they didn't okay that. So team leaders don't have access to like a list of registrant emails. Excuse me, but I would say any information you want to get to your participants, I would really use that event information field to put some of those details. But if there's anything that comes up that you really need to tell your participants, go ahead and email me and I'm happy to send a custom email, to the folks that are registered to let them know of any important information. So feel free to utilize, like I said, the event information field, or you can reach out to me. And then we did already go over this last one. Where do I dispose of litter collected? So like I said, you'll dispose of it on site. You don't need to take it elsewhere. We do get that question a lot. So once you're done, like I said, there should be receptacles on site. If you have any issues with that, reach out to us. You can place them neatly next to receptacles that are full, and just let us know. So those are some of our frequently asked questions. Once again, thank you all so much for being here tonight, and also just for your interest in participating in this program. We really appreciate the interest and your dedication to the Great Lakes and to doing this work. The program is, would not be what it is without all of you, so we really appreciate it. Any other questions before we wrap up? I'll go ahead and stop sharing. And like I said, I'll be following up with resources for everyone in the recording.
All right, quick one for you.
Yeah, go ahead, Nicole.
Despite the name of Adopt a Beach, is it possible to do more river-based cleanups, or does that fall under a different entity?
Good question. Yeah, I kind of, I hate to give you a non-answer, but it kind of depends. I would say so, often, a lot of times there might be other entities that do river cleanups. A lot of river keeper groups do some stuff like that. We have had groups or individuals reach out wanting to do a cleanup like along a river that, as long as it's kind of within the watershed and, is part of the Great Lakes watershed and region, we have added those locations. So feel free to reach out if you're looking at a specific spot and it's not in our system. So it kind of depends. Yeah, we can add it a lot of times. If there's a group that already does river cleanups, we can also help direct you to them as well. Good question. Thanks. Good question, Nicole. Yep, Jolie was also wondering that. Good question. Yeah, I would say most of our, the vast majority of our cleanups are beach cleanups along Great Lakes shorelines, but we do have some that are along rivers or other water bodies that are adjacent, near the Great Lakes or part of the watershed. Any other questions? Okay, great. Well, once again, thank you so much for being here tonight. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedules to do so, and appreciate your interest in the program. If you have any questions at all, I'm going to go ahead and put my email here in the chat. Feel free to reach out directly. Oops. I hope that is that not going through. Oh, I can see it. Okay. 1 second. There we go. Okay. There's my personal email for work. And then also I'll put the Adopt a Beach. I manage both emails right now. So, but you can reach me through those emails. And like I said, I'll follow up with resources. So thanks again so much for being here. Really appreciate it. I hope you all have a good evening. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate it.